Welcome back to this special program. My name is Vineet. Well, we're going to talk about Bindz. Bindz is a company which is redefining the offshoring strategy for financial services companies and strengthening India further as the key global capability center (GCC) for foreign firms. Bindz, with its unique BOTM model, which is build, operate, transfer, data-driven insights, transparency of costs and operations, and risk sharing, empowers businesses to drive sustainable growth. With a commitment to excellence and precision, Bindz is helping global companies leverage the India model and its talent and extend the Make in India model to serve from India, that is. And joining me to talk more about their future, their projections and the wonderful work they are doing in the studio is Mr. Sirish Gorada, MD and CEO. Bindz Consulting. Mr. Baninder Singh Hira, Chief Corporate Officer, also with us in the studio. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you flew all the way down from Bangalore to speak to us right here on NewsX. Thank you so much for that. Baninder, I'll begin with you. Well, of course, I said that in my opening monologue as well, that GCC is the keyword that you guys operate upon. A lot of people who are perhaps not familiar with that acronym, if I can call it that. Would you want to elaborate as to what that means and what is the essence of GCC?
Sure. Thank you so much, first of all, Vineet, for having us on the show. It's a pleasure. I think it's a well beginning to talk about what GCC is, and it's a term that, as you rightly said, coined multiple times in different forums. But what it truly means. So, GCC, as it's called as Global Capability Center, is a unit of a foreign multinational company in a different location, in a different country than their primary location, and it is used with multiple different terminologies: GICs, Global In-house Capability Center, captives, etc. But what it truly means is any foreign organization that want to leverage different capabilities, be it technology, be it workforce, be it administrative capabilities, etc., in a different country than its origin, sets up a unit in the offshore location to pivot from the traditional operational model to leverage all of these capabilities, is the term called Global Capability Centers. Now, how it helps and how it has grown over a period of time. We've seen offshoring start about 20-25 years back, where typically, contact center businesses or call center businesses were being offshored outside the foreign locations, and India was a primary location for it as well. And gradually that moved up the ladder in terms of processing units, simple jobs that were being done through the use of primitive technology at that point, to gradually utilize technology further and leverage multiple models in this chain. So there was a point where the organizations understood the capability that India as a location has, and then started to set up much wider operations in the country, which was then being called as captives, where they also introduced some of the complex work that they did and started to service their end consumers from India. They also brought technology because India was growing in terms of its technology capabilities. So they brought technology here to manage their systems, to even grow their systems further. We now stand at a stage where, while we have about 1,500 plus GCCs in India, the model that we are trying to challenge is, why do a foreign company has to set up the GCC themselves? They've done it in the past. We've seen all the big giants do it themselves. But
right.
Now India already has an advantage of running and maintaining these units. Why can't we leverage our capabilities, take away some of the risk from these companies, and set up their offshore operations under our brand? And then obviously the model can pivot to how it transfers, etc., which is what we are doing. But that's truly is a GCC. You have an offshore unit that has end-to-end capabilities. The only exceptions to that is, obviously, you would have very limited end consumer interactions, because that requires face-to-face interaction, but everything else can be done from any offshore location. That is truly a GCC.
That's a truly wonderful explanation. Sirish, coming to you now, let's also discuss what has been the evolution of GCC and what does it entail. There is obviously a concept of a profit center versus a cost center. Would you elaborate on that for us and our viewers, please?
Absolutely. I think just adding on to what Maninder said and very well defined what a GCC is, I think understanding the sort of evolution of it is quite important. With India and Asia being, having significant cost arbitrage advantage, the GCCs were always set up for a cost arbitrage play. So the cost of labor obviously is lesser than the Western world, and GCCs was set up to do lower to medium complex work at a much beneficial cost, right? That's how they started, and that's how the GCCs kind of spun out. Whether it's in technology, whether it was in financial services, manufacturing, pharmaceutical sector, the GCCs evolved from there. But there's a significant change that's happening over time because of the great skills and capabilities that we have in India, and our engineers and our talent is leading across the globe. GCCs have now transitioned from purely a cost play to a revenue play. So the pivot has gone from pure cost arbitrage to say, how do we take advantage of the great skills and capabilities we have in India and add to the bottom line and make it a profit center or a revenue driven sort of organization. That has obviously changed the dynamic in terms of our employees, our people in India having greater opportunities, whether it's more complex roles, more global roles, and also making a bigger impact for our clients all over the globe.
Absolutely, that's a wonderful perspective that you've given us, Maninder. Let's also talk about the wider impact of GCCs. How has that really changed the shape of the kind of module and model that you work upon, and of course that the world looks upon?
Sure. So I think let's look at it from two different perspectives. The impact obviously on our country, on any geography where the GCC operates, but also it's important to kind of look at the impact on the companies that are leveraging the model. So I'll start with the India story. So how does GCC's setup in India, and India being one of the primary location for it, helps is no brainer. Obviously it helps us create employment, and the administration truly looks at it, everybody truly looks at it, and there's a massive job creation that's happening over a period of last 20-25 years. That's one big factor, but let's not discount it by just employment. When you have these companies set up their centers in India, one of the mindset that we should appreciate is they bring all these different global practices to India as well. They're not looking at India purely from a cost saving perspective. They want to replicate their model of amenities, facilities, overall status of their employees in the country, and that helps elevate the infrastructure as well. So you see our metro cities, Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, Chennai, these are the GCC hubs for the country. And if you would have observed in the last about 20 years, these places have grown tremendously, in fact, as far as the infrastructure is concerned. So many different wonderful real estate opportunities. The transit systems have been elevated. You have all such other support systems and support businesses that are coming up, which helps a country to grow not just the employment but also overall development. And I think one of the other very key point which is really very less talked about is when we have these companies set up the businesses, and with the support and motivation from the administration, they're also elevating the local communities through their CSR initiatives, right? Through the mindset of investing and elevating the groups and local communities there. That is a big plus. And I think needless to say, it helps government collect taxes, it helps us raise the foreign currency reserves and all of that. It's any which way is given. But some of these points that I've talked about, the employment, the infrastructure and whole rounded infrastructure, plus the community development are big plus for countries. And then for the companies who are setting up, obviously they're leveraging the talent availability, they're leveraging the education system that these countries have, and they are also kind of looking at growing the technology availability and technology landscape in these countries. So it's like a win-win across. That is what truly globalization is, I would say.
Absolutely. And Sirish, the big question is, why should this be done in India? Why India over other countries? What's your explanation for that?
I think there is two reasons, two primarily driven reasons for this. One, you've got to see what is happening in the West. There's a massive aging population. The number of people who are taking up traditional fields like engineering, accounting, etc. are dropping off.